Welcome to Jedala Fashion Guide. In today's video, we are going to be drafting an off-shoulder princess dark bustier half-cut pattern. We'll be needing, I'll be using this for the tutorials. You can get your pattern paper or a lining that you can practice with. I'll be making use of these rulers. Of course, we need our tape, we need our marker, we need a pair of scissors. Use the scissors for cutting paper, not the one for fabric. And of course, we need our measurements. The measurements we'll be working with is the across chest 14 inches. We'll be dividing that by 2 to have 7, and then we'll subtract 2 from that to get 5. That is what we are going to be using for the neckline. We'll be working with a bust of 40, under bust 35, waist 38, hip 46, and a bust span of 8 inches. These 8 inches will be divided by 2. I'll be adding a 0.5 inch seam allowance. The shoulder to bust we're working with is 11 inches. The shoulder to under bust is 15 inches, and the shoulder to waist is 18 inches. For this tutorial, we're only going to stop at the half cut. Now the bust, the under bust, the waist, the hip, be dividing them by 4 inches. Sorry, we'll be dividing them by 4. That means 40 divided by 4, 10 inches. 35 divided by 4 will give us 8.75 inches. 38 waistline divided by 4 will give us 9.5 inches. Our hip circumference divided by 4 will give us 11.5 inches. So we are going to mark the vertical, the measurement first. For this practical, we'll be using 5 inches off. 5 inches off. So I'll take this as my starting point. So I'll place the 5 inches there. 5 inches. And then I'll mark my bust point. Bust point is 11. Don't forget to add your seam allowance when you are marking yours. So on the bust is 15, to the waist is 18. So if you are adding seam allowance, instead of 11, you make use of 11 and a half. Instead of 15, make use of 15 and a half. Instead of 18, you make use of 18 and a half. To have a straight line, I'm just going to remark the same thing here. 11, 15, and then 18. Use our long ruler to connect that. I'm going to mark out those lines. This is our bust line. This is our under bust. And this is our waist. To get the chest line, from the bust line, we'll go up by 2 inches. This is our chest line. And then the neckline that we are working with, a round chest, our across chest. The across chest, you mark it from here. You place your tape from here to here. Okay, this is how we place the tape. So it goes 14. So 14 divided by 2, and then we subtract 2. 14 divided by 2 is 7. Minus 2, we get 5. So place the 5 here. This is a princess dart. So on this chest line, we'll take our bust circumference divided by 4. And then we just connect the armhole line. And then the next thing is to mark our dart. Our bust span is 8 inches. The bust span is 8 inches. We'll be dividing that by 2. We have 4, and then we have add same allowance of 0.5. So we'll be making use of 4.5. So on the chest line, I will mark 4.5. I will also mark it on the underbust and then on the waistline. Connect that with a ruler. Sorry about that. This is going to be a princess dart, so it's going to come from the armhole. So it's not a straight bustier, it's a princess dart, so the dart is going to come from the armhole. Before we do that, this first point I'll come down by 1 inch so that this place can be free. And then on this armhole line, I'll mark 2.5. So I'm going to connect that to this place in my French curve. On this, from here, I'm going to come down by 1 inches to get the roundness of the bust, and I'll connect it back to this bust point. So we are going to be cutting here out. In order not to have any shortage when we are joining, we are going to be extending this line by 1 inch. We will use the curve to extend it. And then we draw out a new armhole curve. We also extend this place. So this is the new armhole curve we'll be working with. We'll no longer work with this. Just make sure that there are no sharp edge here. So on the waist, on the bust line, on this side I'm going to take 2 inches. On this side I'll take ½ inch. I'll repeat same on the waistline. I'm working with the bust 40, so it depends on the fullness of the breast. So I'll connect this line. I'll connect the underbust to the waist with a straight line. And then I'll use the French curve to connect the underbust to the bust line. So you place it such that you can blend into this line. Place your French curve such that you can blend into that line. So you are going to be cutting it out. So the next thing is just to impute our measurements, our bust measurements, bust circumference divided by 4, and then we have a small dart here, and then the seam allowance, we are using 2 inches seam allowance. You also use 2 inches here. On the underbust, take the underbust circumference divided by 4. Ours is 8.75. The darts that I have taken here, 2.5. You replace it, and then a seam allowance 2 inches. On the waistline, take the waist circumference divided by 4. The darts that I have taken here, 2.5. And then the seam allowance of 2 inches. So that is basically all. They'll just connect the lines. It's as simple as that. Very, very simple. So that is all. Just cut out our pattern. Now to cut out my pattern, I'll just use I'll just add 0.5 inch seam allowance for this piece. So let's cut it out and see what we have. Before we do that, the neckline, let's come back. The neckline, if you want a sweeter neckline, remember we've already taken ½ inch off. If you want a sweeter neckline, you can have, so it depends on, you can decide to make it 1.5 inches deep or 2 inches. I'm going to be using 2 inches, and then use your French curve to blend it to the neck, to the armhole like this. So this is a sweeter neckline. If you want a straight neckline, just leave it straight. If you want a small slight curve, you just come down by ½ inch. You just come down by ½ inch like this, and use and connect the neckline like this. I'll use dotted lines to show you that. You see that? Then you now cut here before you cut the armhole. But we are using a sweeter neckline, so we are using this. So let's cut it out and see what we have. So remember, we are cutting. When you get here, remember that this continues, so be careful so you don't cut through. Cut here and continue. Let me cut this down. It's cardboard, so it's a bit thick. So you can now just extend the slice you can cut. And just trace this so that I can cut the same thing. It's a bit hard because it's cardboard. So you can go ahead and notch this place, you notch here and you notch here, so that you don't have any problem when you are transferring. Just smoothing this out. So the same thing, you go ahead and notch it, so that when you want to, you don't have any problem, you just notch it, make sure it's the same place. When you want to join it, it will be easy. So the mark is heavy. So let's see what we have. So this is, of course, you also want to match this side. So that when it is time to join, you just know where to join. So you notch it. And this, make sure you notch it. Notch it. I'm using mark so that. So this is what we have. This is our princess that bustier. So you see the essence of notching, so that you know where to join it. Here and here. Okay. Here and here. So after joining, if you have any extra after joining, if you have any extra like this, when you are finished joining, you just recut the armhole like this. You just recut it. So it's better to have surplus than to have shortages. Okay. So this is hard, so I'm not able to show you how you join, but just make sure. So after joining, any surplus you have, you just use your French cord like this and cut out the excess. That is after joining. You recut the armhole like this and just trim off the excess that you have. So this is our princess off-shoulder princess that bustier pattern. Our emphasis on the front part, which we have just done. For the back part, it's very easy. I've explained that in my previous video before. This is a basic bodice pattern that has a shoulder. They just the number of inches off that you want, 5 inches off, you mark it, and then you mark the chest, the across chest divided by 2 minus 2, you mark it, and then create a new arm curve. It is the same dart you are still using on the waistline. On the waistline, after marking the bust span measurement, take 1/2 inch on both sides, and then on the bust line you go up by 1 inch, and then you roll out with that. When you are done with that, you just impute your bust circumference and your waist circumference after this zipper line. This is the zipper allowance line. Okay, just impute your measurements, the waist measurements, you add back the dart, and then you add sewing allowance. This is for the dart and this is for the sewing allowance. You do the same thing for the bust circumference divided by 10, and then you add the small darts you have here, and then you add the seam allowance, and then you cut out the pattern. We have come to the end of this class. I hope you find it helpful, you find it useful. Please subscribe to this channel, like this channel, share this video, and I'll see you again in another class. Bye for now.